Hey everyone, and welcome. Ready to take control of your inbox.
Always a good idea.
Today we're diving deep into self-hosted email. I know you're really keen on exploring this, so
Absolutely.
yeah. It can seem kind of daunting, but stick with us. It's really interesting stuff.
Yeah.
By the end, you'll have a much better idea of what it takes to actually run your own email server.
Yeah.
So we've got a great bunch of sources you gave me, articles, guides,
Hmm.
even some forum discussions.
Very cool.
Yeah. We're going to uncover why people are ditching those big names for self-hosting. Check out some of the top contenders in the open source world and really get into the nuts and bolts of what makes this all work.
Yeah, it's more than just nuts and bolts. It's understanding like the power dynamics at play here. We're talking about data privacy, control over your digital space,
Right.
and the freedom to kind of shape your online experience, on your own terms.
You mentioned wanting to move away from those big email providers. What's really pushing you towards self-hosting?
Well, I think for a lot of people, it boils down to two main things:
Okay.
data privacy and just taking back control.
Yeah.
With the big providers, your data is kind of their commodity. They're analyzing it, they're using it for targeted advertising and who knows what else.
Right.
Self-hosting really puts you back in the driver's seat. Your data is on your server, following your rules.
So it's kind of like building your own digital fortress where
Yeah.
you decide who gets in and what happens to your data.
Exactly.
Okay.
And then beyond privacy, it's really about the freedom to configure your setup, precisely how you want it without limitations imposed by some third party. You can choose the software, customize the interface, even integrate it with, other services that you use.
That sounds very empowering. I imagine, though, it does require a certain level of technical know-how. What are the options for someone who's not a seasoned sysadmin?
Well, there really is a solution for everyone, from the super beginner friendly all the way to, the highly customizable.
Okay.
Your sources mentioned MailCow, Mail in a Box, Post.io, and Motoboa as popular choices, each with their own strengths.
Great. Let's break them down.
Okay.
What makes each of these stand out?
Well, let's start with Mail in a Box. As the name suggests, it really aims for simplicity.
Okay.
Imagine plugging in a device, and boom, you have a fully functional email server.
Wow.
It even handles DNS configuration, which can be a major hurdle for newcomers.
Right. So this is the easy button option
Yeah.
for someone who just wants to get in without
Excellent.
getting bogged down.
Yep.
Okay. And you mentioned MailCow.
Right. Now, if you're more tech savvy and you enjoy tinkering, MailCow might be more your style. It's built on Docker, which allows for, incredible flexibility and portability.
Mhm.
Plus, you get integrated calendar and contacts all, nicely packaged together.
You mentioned earlier that I'm a fan of open source and like to have control over my setup. MailCow being Docker-based,
Yeah.
I would assume that would give me the granular control that I might want.
You hit the nail on the head.
Okay.
The beauty of Docker is that it lets you fine tune every aspect of your server environment.
Okay.
Post.io, on the other hand, it really shines in its user friendliness and sleek design.
So Post.io is for someone who prioritizes ease of use and a polished interface.
Yes, exactly. And it boasts strong anti-spam features and a really handy email monitoring dashboard.
Okay.
They have both free and paid options, so you can, test the waters before committing.
That's always a plus.
Yeah.
What about Motoboa? What's its claim to fame?
Motoboa is really for those who crave ultimate control.
Right.
It's highly customizable. You can tweak practically everything through a web-based interface.
Okay.
So if you like digging into the nitty-gritty and, tailoring your setup to your exact needs, Motoboa is your playground.
It seems like choosing the right software is just the tip of the iceberg.
Yeah.
What about the underlying technology?
Right.
What do I need to know to make sure my emails actually get sent and received?
Yeah, you're right. There's more to it than just, picking a cool sounding name.
Right.
We need to talk about the fundamental components, the languages that make email work.
Okay.
Think of SMTP as the language for sending mail.
Okay.
It's like dropping a letter in the mailbox.
So SMTP is for sending. What about receiving emails?
You got it. For receiving, we have IMAP, which is more like having a two-way conversation with your mailbox.
Okay.
It allows you to, sync messages and folders across your devices so you're always up to date.
That makes sense. Now, what about keeping all those pesky spam emails out of my pristine inbox.
Ah, yes. The eternal battle against spam.
Yeah.
Don't worry, we've got you covered. We'll be delving into the specifics of spam filtering later. But for now, just know that there are powerful tools like Spam Assassin that can act as your first line of defense.
Okay.
It analyzes incoming emails for, telltale signs of spam, like suspicious sender addresses,
Right.
spammy keywords,
Yeah.
and filters them out before they even, clutter your inbox.
Spam Assassin sounds like a very vigilant guardian,
Yeah.
keeping those unwanted emails at bay.
Exactly. And it's just one piece of the puzzle. To ensure your emails actually reach their destination.
Right.
Without getting lost or flagged as suspicious, we need to talk about DNS.
DNS, like those cryptic acronyms I see in my router settings.
Yeah.
What role does that even play in email?
DNS, or domain name system, acts like the internet's address book.
Okay.
It translates those human-readable domain names like, google.com into the numerical IP addresses that computers understand.
Right.
And for email, specific DNS records are absolutely crucial. They tell other servers where to deliver your messages and verify that you're a legitimate sender.
So DNS is like the postal service, making sure our emails are properly addressed and delivered to the right place.
That's a great way to put it.
Okay.
We'll be exploring these DNS records in more detail a little bit later. But for now, just know that they're essential for reliable and secure email delivery.
This is starting to sound like a complex system with a lot of moving parts.
Yeah.
Are there any tools that can help me monitor and manage all of this?
Absolutely.
Okay.
We'll dive into the specifics of server monitoring later, but
Okay.
I want to introduce you to two really powerful tools.
Okay.
Prometheus and Grafana. Think of them as your server's health dashboard.
Okay.
They give you visual insights into everything, from CPU usage to email delivery rates.
So instead of sifting through lines of code, I can get a clear picture of how my server is performing.
Exactly. They make monitoring much more intuitive and manageable.
Okay.
Especially for those who, prefer visuals over raw data.
That sounds much less daunting than I imagined. Before we move on to the technical nitty-gritty of DNS records,
Okay.
do you have any final thoughts on choosing the right self-hosting solution?
Yeah. I think the key is to really assess your needs and your comfort level. Consider how tech savvy you are, how much customization you desire, and whether you prioritize simplicity or those advanced features.
Right.
Don't be afraid to explore different options, read reviews, even try out demo versions before making a decision.
That's great advice. It's like test driving a car before you buy it.
Yeah.
I want to make sure it's the right fit. Okay, I think we've laid a solid foundation, exploring the why of self-hosting, getting a glimpse of the options available. Now I'm ready to delve into the how. Let's unravel the mystery of those DNS records and see what makes them so crucial for email delivery.
Let's dive in.
All right, we're back and ready to tackle those DNS records you mentioned. I have to admit, they've always seemed a bit like a black box to me.
I get it. They can be a little intimidating at first.
Yeah.
But they're really just instructions that help guide your emails through that vast network of the internet. Think of them as signposts, ensuring your messages reach their destination and aren't mistaken for spam.
So instead of vanishing into the digital ether, my emails will arrive safe and sound thanks to these DNS signposts.
Exactly. Let's start with MX records. These are the most fundamental ones.
Okay.
They tell other mail servers where to deliver emails that are addressed to your domain.
So if I set up my MX records correctly, emails sent to, let's say, me@mydomain.com will actually land in my inbox on my self-hosted server.
You got it. It's like having your address, clearly displayed on your mailbox so the mail carrier knows exactly where to deliver your letters. Now let's move on to SPF, or Sender Policy Framework. This record acts like a whitelist, specifying which servers are actually allowed to send emails on behalf of your domain.
I've heard about SPF in the context of fighting spam.
Right.
How does that work?
Think of it this way. Without SPF, anyone could send an email claiming to be from your domain, right?
Right.
SPF lets you explicitly list the authorized senders, making it much harder for spammers to spoof your address.
So SPF is like a security guard at the door,
Yeah.
checking IDs and making sure only legitimate senders are allowed in.
That's a great analogy. Now, DKIM, or Domain Keys Identified Mail, adds another layer of security. It's like a digital signature attached to your outgoing emails.
A digital signature. How does that work with email?
Well, DKIM uses encryption to verify that the email actually originated from your domain and hasn't been tampered with, in transit.
Yeah.
It's like sealing your message with a tamper-proof seal, ensuring its authenticity.
So DKIM provides that assurance that the email I receive is genuinely from the sender and hasn't been, altered along the way.
Precisely. It helps build trust and prevents those malicious actors from, modifying the content of your emails. Finally, we have DMART, which stands for Domain-Based Message Authentication, Reporting, and Conformance.
Wow. That's a mouthful.
I know, right? But it builds upon SPF and DKIM, telling receiving servers what to do with emails that fail those checks.
So DMARC is like the judge,
Yeah.
deciding what happens to emails that don't pass the SPF and DKIM tests.
Exactly. You can actually set policies within DMRs instructing receiving servers to, reject suspicious emails, quarantine them, or even just deliver them, with a warning. It gives you much more control over how your domain's email is handled.
Wow, these DNS records are really the unsung heroes of email delivery.
Yeah.
I'm starting to appreciate how much they contribute to reliability and security.
They really are the foundation upon which a, secure and trustworthy email system is built. Now let's shift gears a bit and talk about securing our self-hosted email server itself.
Okay, let's dive into those security measures. What are the essential steps to keep my server and my data safe from those hackers we hear so much about these days?
The first and most crucial step is to enable TLS SSL encryption for all your email communications.
Yeah.
Imagine it as creating a secure tunnel for your messages, preventing anyone from eavesdropping as they travel across the internet.
So it's like putting each email in a sealed envelope that can only be opened by the intended recipient.
Exactly. And most modern email solutions, make setting up TLS SSL very straightforward. You can even get, free certificates from Let's Encrypt.
That's good to know. But what about brute force attacks, where hackers try to guess my password repeatedly? How can I protect against that?
That's where Fail to Ban comes in. It's a fantastic tool that monitors your server logs for suspicious activity, like repeated, failed login attempts from a single IP address.
Mm-hmm.
If it detects something fishy, it automatically blocks that IP, preventing further attacks.
So Fail to Ban is like having a vigilant security guard who spots suspicious behavior and takes action to stop it.
Precisely. And speaking of passwords, never underestimate the importance of choosing strong, unique passwords for your email accounts. Short, simple passwords are just an open invitation for trouble.
Right. I've learned my lesson there. I make sure to use long, complex passwords with a mix of letters, numbers, and symbols.
Mm-hmm.
I've even started using a password manager to keep track of them all.
Good for you.
What about multi-factor authentication? I use that for my banking and other sensitive accounts.
You're ahead of the curve. MFA is highly recommended for any email account, especially one that, houses sensitive information, by requiring a second factor, like, a code from your phone or something.
Right.
You make it, exponentially harder for attackers to gain access, even if they manage to steal your password.
So MFA is like adding an extra lock on the door, making it, virtually impenetrable. Any other security tips I should keep in mind?
Yeah. Rate limiting is another useful technique. It limits the number of login attempts that are allowed from a single IP address within a specific time frame.
Okay.
This helps thwart brute force attacks by, slowing down those attackers and making their job much harder.
So rate limiting is like putting a speed bump on the road to my server, making it harder for those malicious speed demons to reach their destination.
Exactly. By combining these, security measures, you can create a really multi-layered defense system that makes your self-hosted email server a tough nut to crack.
It's reassuring to know there are so many ways to protect my data and keep those pesky hackers at bay.
Yep.
But even with all these security measures in place, I imagine running a self-hosted email server requires ongoing vigilance and maintenance. Is that right?
You're absolutely right. It's not a set it and forget it type of deal. It's It's like a garden, Your email server needs regular tending to really thrive.
Okay, so what kind of maintenance tasks are we talking about here? I'm not exactly a tech whiz, so I'm hoping it's not too overwhelming.
Don't worry. It's manageable, with the right tools and a bit of guidance. First and foremost, you'll want to keep an eye on your server's health,
Okay.
monitoring things like CPU usage, disk space, and email delivery rates.
You mentioned Prometheus and Grafana earlier. Are those tools helpful for this kind of monitoring?
Absolutely. They're fantastic for visualizing server data and spotting potential issues, early on. Prometheus collects, metrics from your server, while Grafana, transforms that data into, beautiful interactive dashboards.
So instead of sifting through endless log files, I can get a clear visual overview of how my server is performing.
Exactly. They make monitoring much more intuitive and even, a bit fun. It's like having a control panel for your email universe.
That sounds much less intimidating.
Yeah.
What other maintenance tasks should I be aware of?
Backups are absolutely crucial. Imagine, losing all your emails due to, hardware failure or an accidental deletion.
Yeah, that would be bad.
It would be a nightmare, right?
Yeah.
Regularly backing up your server, ensures that you can restore your data quickly and minimize downtime.
It's like having an insurance policy.
Yeah.
For my email data. Any specific backup methods you recommend?
Well, a lot of email solutions offer, built-in backup features, which can be really convenient. But you can also set up, your own custom scripts using tools like ORSync for more control.
Okay, so backups are a must. What else?
Remember those DNS records and SSL certificates we talked about earlier?
Right. Those digital signposts and security seals.
Exactly. They require occasional attention too.
Okay.
Yeah.
What kind of maintenance do they need?
Well, SSL certificates, especially those from Let's Encrypt, typically expire, every 90 days. You'll need to make sure they auto-renew or manually renew them. And it's good practice to, periodically review your DNS records, making sure they're accurate and up to date.
So it's like checking the expiration dates on those security seals and making sure the addresses on those signposts are still correct.
Exactly. And it's a good idea to periodically test your email deliverability using, tools like Mail Tester.
What does that involve?
Mail Tester, it helps you check if your emails are likely to land in, recipients' inboxes or get flagged as spam. It's like, sending a test letter to make sure the Postal Service can deliver it correctly.
That's a helpful analogy. So it helps identify any potential deliverability issues and allows me to make adjustments.
Precisely. By staying on top of these, maintenance tasks, you can keep your self-hosted email server running smoothly and securely, like a well-oiled machine.
This whole maintenance aspect seems much more manageable than I initially thought.
Yeah.
Especially with the help of tools like Prometheus and Grafana.
Technology has come a long way, making server management much more accessible than ever. It's not just for the the hardcore techies anymore.
That's encouraging to hear.
Yeah.
Speaking of technology, we talked earlier about spam filtering and how it helps keep our inboxes clean. Can we delve a bit deeper into how these spam filters actually work their magic?
Absolutely. Let's take another look at Spam Assassin, which we touched on earlier.
Okay.
It's like a highly trained detective, analyzing incoming emails for clues that might, reveal their true intentions.
Okay, so what kind of clues is Spam Assassin looking for?
Well, it examines various aspects of an email, starting with the sender's address. Is it from a known spammer or a domain with a bad reputation?
So it's like checking if the return address on the envelope is suspicious.
Exactly. It also analyzes the email's content, looking for spammy keywords, excessive use of capital letters,
Right.
or misleading subject lines.
So it's like reading between the lines,
Yeah.
looking for signs that the email might not be what it seems.
You got it. Spam Assassin assigns a score to each email based on these factors, and you can configure it to automatically filter out or flag messages that exceed a certain threshold.
So it's like setting a spam tolerance level. If an email crosses that line, it gets quarantined, or banished to the spam folder.
Precisely. And Spam Assassin, it isn't alone in this fight. We also have Climav, which specializes in detecting viruses and other malicious software that might be lurking within emails.
Climav sounds like a digital security guard scanning each email for hidden threats. How does that work?
Calamity uses a vast database of known virus signatures to identify and neutralize malicious attachments.
Really?
It's like having a microscopic scanner that scrutinizes every incoming email for any signs of danger.
So Calamity acts as a final checkpoint,
Yeah.
ensuring that no harmful software sneaks past our defenses.
Exactly. And for those seeking even more advanced, spam filtering, there's RSpam.
What makes our spam different?
RSpam is known for its, speed and accuracy, especially when dealing with large volumes of email.
Okay.
It utilizes sophisticated algorithms and machine learning to identify and filter spam, making it a popular choice for, larger deployments.
Oh, our spam is like having a team of elite spam fighting experts working tirelessly to protect my inbox.
That's a great way to put it. With tools like Spam Assassin, Klemaziev, and RSpam at your disposal, you can effectively combat, that onslaught of spam and keep your inbox, clean and safe.
This has been an incredibly enlightening journey
Yeah.
into the world of self-hosted email.
It has been.
We've covered so much ground, from the initial motivations for self-hosting to the technical intricacies of DNS records,
Right.
security measures, and ongoing maintenance. It's clear that self-hosting offers tremendous control and privacy, but also requires a certain level of commitment and technical understanding.
You've summed it up perfectly. Self-hosting isn't for everyone,
Right.
but for those who, value privacy control and that satisfaction of running their own systems, it can be a truly rewarding experience.
Before we wrap up, are there any final thoughts you'd like to share with our listeners who might be considering taking the plunge into self-hosting?
Yeah. I think, as we increasingly rely on email for communication, the importance of owning and controlling our data cannot be, overstated. Self-hosting, it empowers us to shape our online experiences on our own terms, free from the influence of large corporations.
That's a powerful message.
Yeah.
So for those who are intrigued by the idea of self-hosting, but might be feeling a little intimidated, what advice would you give them?
I would say, do your research, explore the available options, and don't be afraid to ask for help. The self-hosting community is incredibly welcoming and supportive, and there's just a wealth of information available, online.
That's great advice. And remember, self-hosting is a journey, not a destination. You don't need to become a tech expert overnight.
Right.
Start small, learn as you go, and enjoy the process of taking control of your digital life.
Well said. And who knows, you might even discover a passion for the technical side of things that you never knew you had.
I think we've covered just about everything there is to know about self-hosted email. We've explored the why, the what, and the how, giving our listener, a really comprehensive understanding of this fascinating world.
We've equipped them with the knowledge and tools to make an informed decision about whether self-hosting is the right path for them.
And if they choose to embark on this adventure, we've provided them with a roadmap to navigate the challenges and reap the rewards.
Now it's up to our listener to decide if they're ready to take the reins and become the master of their own email destiny.
And with that, we conclude our deep dive into the world of self-hosted email.
Yes.
We hope you found this exploration informative, engaging, and maybe even a little inspiring.
Until next time, stay curious, keep learning, and keep those inboxes clean and secure.
Welcome back. As we wrap up our deep dive into self-hosted email, I'm really struck by how much we've covered, from those initial why self-host questions to the nitty-gritty of DNS and security. It's been quite a journey.
It has, and it's more than just technical details, right? It's about a mindset shift, understanding that you actually have the power to control your digital space.
Exactly. We've talked about the advantages of self-hosting, the privacy, the control, the customization. But I'm curious, from your perspective, what's the most compelling reason for someone to make this switch?
I think it's that realization that your email is more than just messages. It's a network of connections, ideas, sometimes even, sensitive information.
Right.
And with self-hosting, you're taking responsibility for that entire ecosystem. No more relying on a third party whose priorities might not, align with yours.
That makes sense. It's like the difference between renting an apartment and owning your own home. You have the, the freedom to make it truly your own.
Precisely. You set the rules, choose the decor,
Yeah.
build it to your specifications.
Right.
And in the case of email, those specifications are all about, privacy and security. We talked about tools like Spam Assassin and ClamAV acting as gatekeepers.
Right.
But what other safeguards should someone consider?
Well, we've touched on strong passwords and MFA, but those are, just the basics. For me, the real game changer is understanding how DNS works. It's not just about, having the right address. It's about building trust with other email servers.
You're absolutely right. Setting up those SPF, DKIM, and DMRC records,
Right.
it's like establishing your email server's reputation. It tells the world, hey, I'm legitimate, and these messages are the real deal.
It's like having a solid credit score in the world of email.
Yeah, exactly.
The more trustworthy your server, the less likely your messages will end up in, spam folders.
Exactly. And that peace of mind, knowing that your messages are actually reaching their intended recipients, that's invaluable.
Right.
But even with the most secure setup, things can happen. What about those moments, Let's say there's a server hiccup or heaven forbid, a hard drive failure. What then?
That's where backups come in, those digital life rafts that can save the day. That sinking feeling when you realize you've accidentally deleted an important email.
Yeah.
Well, with regular backups, you can breathe easy knowing that your data is safe, even if disaster strikes.
It's a must-have, especially if you're dealing with, years of correspondence, contacts, attachments.
Right.
And speaking of ongoing care, what's your take on the maintenance aspect of self-hosting? Is it truly a digital garden, as we've been calling it?
It definitely has that feel.
Yeah.
You're not just planting seeds and walking away. Right.
Right.
It requires tending, pruning, and making adjustments as needed.
What kind of adjustments are we talking about?
Well, remember those SSL certificates that encrypt our email communications?
Mm-hmm.
They expire periodically.
Right.
So we need to make sure they're renewed. And sometimes we might need to tweak our spam filters or update our server software to keep up with those evolving threats.
It sounds like a continuous learning process, staying informed about best practices and adapting to new challenges.
Exactly. And that's where the self-hosting community comes in.
Yeah.
Online forums, blogs, and even just chatting with other self-hosters can be incredibly valuable.
It's like having a network of fellow gardeners sharing tips and helping each other troubleshoot problems.
Exactly. And that sense of community, of shared purpose is something I find really appealing about self-hosting.
It's not just about the technology. It's about joining a movement, a group of people who value privacy, control, and the power of building things for themselves.
Well said. So as we bring this deep dive to a close, what's the one takeaway message you'd like to leave with our listener?
I'd say self-hosting is more than just a technical solution. It's a statement about how we want to interact with technology. It's about taking ownership, pushing back against the data-hungry giants, and reclaiming a piece of the digital world for ourselves.
That's a powerful way to put it, and I think that's what makes this journey so exciting. It's not just about setting up an email server. It's about taking a stand for something you believe in.
Absolutely. If you're tired of being a passive consumer of technology, if you crave more control and want to understand those systems that underpin your digital life, self-hosting is a fantastic way to do that. It's empowering, it's challenging, and it opens up a whole world of possibilities.
I couldn't have said it better myself.
Yeah.
We've reached the end of our exploration.
Yeah.
And I hope you found it as illuminating as I have.
I did.
Remember, knowledge is power.
Yes.
And now, armed with a deeper understanding of self-hosted email, you have the power to make informed decisions about your digital life.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep pushing those boundaries of what's possible.
And may your inbox always be clean, secure, and filled with only the messages that matter most.